Hey, there it is. And Smokey is once again not at the helm because Gene Jackson is enjoying leaving me on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Cheap Heat TV. I am Xander's on vacation. I am joined by the king of all wrestling media, Gene Jackson. Gene Jackson, what's up?
Look at you on vacation and finally got my name right. We're
Dude, it's the first
59.
time.
We're 59 episodes in, and the time you're on vacation, you get my name right.
Let me just say this real quick. I don't know how good the connection is going to be because, like, after the Sal interview, I don't. Is this sounding okay on your end, Gene?
Yeah, I mean, it don't sound like
perfect.
It does when you're at your house, but I mean, it sounds
naturally.
But
so after the Sal interview, there was so much like praise from people at Cheap Heat Television Network and all this other stuff. Smokey got me with some sponsors, and I'm going on vacation to Long Beach. We're going to go to San Diego, a Dodgers game, all paid with Cheap Heat sponsorship money. I'm stoked.
Damn, I ain't never had to pay for anything with Cheap Heat sponsorship money. What a crock of shit!
Hey, I tell you what, if the night goes as well as I hope it does, you're going to get that vacation soon enough, big man. I promise.
Well, I have to say, I'm kind of nervous about how this is going to go with you being on your phone on vacation, because with all the hell you've given guests and Shane Mako and different people about their connection and the background noise and all that, I got a feeling you're going to suffer through every bit of it just out of pure karma tonight. But
I was gonna say I actually feel kind of bad for all of our guests. I wouldn't want to come on our podcast either.
You may bun out
do it on my phone. Yeah, I probably will, but I'm deep in the South. I'm leaving tomorrow for Long Beach, so I'm gonna be in and out. So thanks for having me on, G Jackson. I know you'll lead the ship correctly if you want to go ahead and introduce everybody else.
I was getting there, but thanks for telling me it was time. Appreciate that. So, of course, the third man, none other than Mr. Shane Mako. How we doing tonight, Mako?
I'm doing, I guess, better now that Xander's isn't on screen. Makes me feel a lot better. when it popped up in his face one day, I was like, that's why he said it, right? He didn't have the pressure of seeing himself.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, we can keep him on screen like this right here through most of the show.
I swear he looks like a Sesame Street character. It's like, I know he's not a puppet, but he looks like a puppet.
I mean, he looks like he would be on a child molester registry somewhere in a post office.
I know I'm not doing a live, but I can still come in and out of the show. This is not going to be an hour-long Xander's roast.
Well, I didn't know you were there. I couldn't tell you.
I thought we were having a guest. Well, I
forgot you were there.
I mean,
see the mute button.
I'm sure our guest who's waiting in the wings calmly probably sees this picture up on the screen. He's like, "Oh my God, where's my kids at?"
He actually, me and our guest this evening have a great rapport. I love this man. He's awesome. So are you going to get to him, or are you going to bring him?
With that picture, he probably don't want you saying you love him, but that's.
Hey, I tell you what, you bring him on and let's ask him.
All right, well hold on. Let's bring in the fourth horseman of the violent gentleman here.
We don't need him.
Scott, we don't need Scott Morgan. What are you trying to say? You hear that? You hear that kind of disrespect happening there, Scott E? I mean,
yeah,
that's tough talk in Florida.
No, that's exactly how upbeat Xander's is toward his friends. He's not like that toward other people, just his friends. So.
Yeah, try to live the gimmick, brother.
That's also
it's a gimmick, that's for sure, because he's the least upbeat person we know. I mean, I'm thinking we need to just do away with this phony upbeat crap and just lean into this miserable Xander's needs to be the character moving forward. Just miserable, hates the world Xander's.
I've done 9 years of no gimmicks. I'm not doing 2 gimmicks in 2 years. Sorry, guys. I'm sticking with upbeat.
That's what happens is once you figure out how to get better at something, you just keep going and going and going.
Yeah, but they say the best gimmicks, Stone Cold, all these different guys, is taking your real personality and amping it up to 10. So I can't imagine amping miserable Xander's up to 10, but oh my God, it would have to be good for something, right?
The perfect example of what miserable. Oh man, it's like Matt Riddle, but miserable. Like that's the perfect. Like not what's up, bro. It'd be like, man, fuck you.
Yeah, we get what part you're talking about there, and he checks out. All right, we got that done. 6:06. We ran Xander's off, so now we can bring on our
Bring 'em
guest
on.
for the evening, the one and only. You may know him as Coach BT. You may know him as Brian Tramel. You may just know him as BT, but by God, you know him because he is a pro wrestling podcast host, one of the best out there. Let's bring him on right now, Mr. BT. How you doing, buddy?
Wow, well, what an introduction there. Thanks, Gene. I
Oh, you're
appreciate that. Doing good, man. I had to set an alarm clock, and it went off at 15 to 6, and I said, what the hell's, what am I doing at 6 o'clock? What am I doing? And finally, you sent me the link to remind me. Excited to be here. It looks like I was the talk of the town last night on Facebook. So
Yeah, look at you getting over on Facebook, getting heat. Oh, since we're popping pictures up here.
Yeah, go
last
ahead.
night I'm scrolling through Facebook, and all of a sudden I come across this picture, and a couple minutes later I get a message from BT, and he's like, "Is that supposed to be me?" And I'm like, "It said wrestling podcast host with a fedora. I don't know of any."
He said, "No." He says, "I don't think that's you. No, not at all." Justin was on Memphis Wrestling yesterday, managing someone. I can't remember which one it was. He was managing, and they called him Coach. And that was my gimmick back in the day, Coach BT. So I actually made a comment on the show just saying, one of the misses was they called him Coach. They can't call him Coach because, that was my gimmick. I was just playing around. And then I saw that, but I think, is that his shoot name? I'm asking because it feels like it's one of those work Facebook pages, where it's your work name and you can work all the angles on that page, but when you go to your shoot account, then you're sitting around talking about babies and eating at Logan's and stuff like that. Is that his real account?
I'd be lying if I
Shane
said for sure I
is
knew.
shaking yes.
I swear, it feels like it is. I don't know.
I mean, he's got a Justin Klein and a JB Klein, but he says the JB Klein is just the backup account for when the Justin Klein one gets banned.
Well, this is one of the things I hate the most about Facebook is when you cut a promo on Facebook if you're not cutting a promo, if you're cutting it with your shoot account or whatever, and then that person's one of your friends, and y'all have a picture of y'all at the barbecue a couple weeks back, or you're kissing his baby or something like that. I just hate that. And that's what it feels like on his page. So yeah, it'll give me
he's wearing the clothes of Brian Tramel, by the way.
Hey, there's Charles.
Just Charles Sanders. I'm back. I had to take a phone call. It was actually the people trying to get my flight stuff together. Either way. So
trying to get your what?
Seems
flight. I thought you said something else.
I thought you said flies. I thought you said flies stuff to get to. I was like, wait, what?
I'm sorry. I was trying to get through that. I do apologize. But no, he just seems like a guy who likes to throw a lot of just rocks. He just seems to throw a lot of rocks whenever he lives in a glass house. So
hey, I'm famous. Someone made a drawing of me and made fun of me. So
he put effort into it. He put effort into it.
I was excited. That's what Gene said. I had to be famous because no one's ever done him like.
Yeah, no one's ever drawn a picture of me. I'm kind of jealous, honestly.
Yeah, I had one at Six Flags once. That was it. I paid for it though.
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to see somebody draw this. I mean, and after the comments you just made about Justin Klein,
how cool is that?
Will.
How cool is that, Trimble?
Well, I like to. Well, as we were coming on to the show, I got to see three guys without their shirts on, and Gene, I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed. All these guys here. And no shirts on. Right? Your photographs always have your shirt on. So
you just think you're disappointed now. If you see me without my shirt on, then you really.
I've heard. Is there any stuff of like Chuck the Truck that might have shirtless pictures?
No.
Okay. Well, upsetting. I guess we can't tease that being a possibility. I'm going to go back.
There's more pictures of Bigfoot than me without a shirt on. I promise you. And you might confuse the two if there were, but nonetheless. So you mentioned that. You was talking about it on the Memphis show. So let's talk about, we've had you on in the past and we've talked about some of the different podcasts you do, and we'll talk about them some more tonight as well. But you do something interesting. You do a review show, a weekly review show for the Memphis Wrestling show, and it comes on after each week after the Memphis show airs. You and Rhino JB, your co-host, come on and you review the show and you go over a few different things. Tell us a little bit about how that came to be and maybe what instructions you were given on the front end and what you guys do each week.
Oh, well, it was actually my idea to do a podcast. We did Dynamite for instead of Dynamite. We called it Dynamite so we wouldn't get in trouble. Wednesday night Dynamite, we reviewed the first 12 episodes of AEW when it came out, and that was my idea for Memphis Wrestling. I'll do the first 12 episodes, give my thoughts on them. Get out of there. See you later. Bye. And then I was offered the opportunity just to do it every week. It goes up on the, Championship from Wrestling or Memphis Wrestling, whatever you want to call it. It goes on their YouTube page. All the clips goes up there. It was an opportunity for me to increase my listeners and everything. I had to teach myself how to do videos and stuff like that. And it was one of those things where, Gene, I don't have any regrets about quitting WrestlingRideOnline.com except stopping the podcast. I wish I would have kept it going. I just didn't have the interest at the time. And then, I wait, 5 years later and start the podcast. We've been doing it for another 7 years. And it seemed like the last couple of years, this year we have as many listens as we did the first 4 years of our podcast. So it has grown like crazy in the last year and a half, and it's because every week we're talking about Memphis Wrestling, and that for one reason or another, that was what I did on the old website too, and it seems like I've grabbed a lot of them and a lot of new listeners too. But it all started with saying I want to do this for 12 weeks, and then Dustin saying, "Hey, why don't you take it over?" And then right in the middle of it, someone quit doing videos, and I taught myself how to do videos to put our little clips. So I put wrestling clips with, what we call hits, misses, and stuff like that. So it's been fun. And it's, my face has been on Memphis Wrestling, which was, that may sound funny, but it's one of those things you grow up watching Memphis Wrestling. And I can actually say, I've been on Memphis Wrestling now.
Yeah, I mean, they promote the podcast on the show. And that's what brings me to my next question, because I know this is kind of the wrestlers podcast. And we do have a lot of fans that watch, but a lot of workers watch it. And so I know most wrestlers, and especially people involved in podcasts, are what they're thinking when they hear what you just described. What kind of pressure does it put on you to know that you're doing a weekly review show? And you used to do, Wrestling Right, where you reviewed shows, and it wasn't always nice. It wasn't always good. There was times when Corey Macklin wanted to come hunt you down in Jonesboro and different things, But what kind of pressure does it put on you to know that they are sharing, that podcast every week on the Memphis Wrestling Show, promoting it during the show, and Dustin and everyone involved is watching it and listening to your review? Does that sway you in any way, or are you just like, hey, here's my thoughts? They are.
I had to sit down and decide. I mean, as when I did Wrestling Right Online, my idea was I was going to be. I sat down and said, okay, I'm going to be the Dave Meltzer of the Memphis area. That was my idea. And then I was going to, if I really thought the matches sucked and I would shit on them, I didn't care. I didn't care what I said about any, how I was. I just said the truth, and then, I mean, it grew to where everyone expected me to do that. That's not really what I do on the podcast. I mean, when I came back with the podcast, I got people that I liked or people I wanted to interview. And then when it come to reviewing, we, just really didn't shit on a lot of stuff. And then when I started doing this, you got to give them, the mulligan for the first 12 shows maybe, because they're lining everything out. And then it really, the best way I put it now is that I provide content for their YouTube page and content for mine. And what it is, it's a review show. And am I being a little bit easier than I was on WrestlingRideOnline.com? Hell yeah, I'm easier on it. That's not my job. My job is not to just rip apart, the TV show. That's not what it's going to be. My job is to provide them some content so other people are talking about their show. And that's what I do. Now, if I find something that I really think is just god awful horrible, I'm texting Dustin or texting somebody within the promotion saying, hey, this looks like shit. Let's don't do it this way. Whether they listen to me or not, is up to them. So it has been a unique situation in the sense that it's just not WrestlingRideOnline.com like I used to do.
Is it something to like where your wife and your kids are just miserable hearing you complain about it, knowing that you can't complain on an actual podcast and be like open and honest? Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I'm actually a pretty good, a huge fan of what they're doing because I mean I had such a history with Memphis wrestling, and also it's kind of like. Okay, so he said Corey Macklin wanted to get to me at one time. Randy Hales hated my guts. Jerry Lawler thinks I'm a goof. You know what? It's all the old timers or the people that already ran Memphis Wrestling never gave it. And I was always the kayfabe guy. So you're not giving a kayfabe guy a break to do anything. And you come along and you have Dustin giving me the chance to do what I want to do and be part of Memphis Wrestling in one way. I'm a separate entity, but that's what I said. I provide content for them.
What's one thing, because we had Sal Renardo on last week. I'm going to plug the podcast. Sal Renardo, who works for NWA. What do you think's one thing that's really missing from Memphis wrestling that's not taking off like it once? Like, because I mean, like, there's people in Memphis, and there's clearly, like, during the off season of basketball and football, like, they don't have football, I don't guess, college football, but there's an opportunity for many people wanting to see kind of good creative entertainment, and like, what's missing from that to be taking it to the next level?
Man, Dustin is a guy that was with the Redbirds. It sounds like I pat him on the back 100 times, but here's a guy who was able to put Memphis wrestling back on television. There's all kinds of people wanting to. There's 10 promotions inside of Memphis right now running on a weekly basis. And what was missing was a TV show, and it's actually getting the word out. There's so many people watching it. I mean, not what the numbers, if you go back and look at the numbers back in the day, they said there was 100,000 people or 80,000 people watching. The reason why is, you just have an opportunity to watch everything. And
those ratings were kind of ridiculous. Like, a lot of that stuff was kind of fabricated. Like, it was easy to kind of work the television ratings and stuff like that.
It still is. Yeah. I remember a guy I know in radio business told me the same thing, that they go by those numbers, but they're, let's what the
everybody hell, make sure you like, everyone please like the show on YouTube. That would help us tremendously. Brian Tramel is going to promote us on all of his podcasts, even the Memphis show. I got on the last Pro Sal show, so maybe I can get off a Memphis show promoting Cheap Heat.
There you go. I have no power whatsoever, so that'll tell you right there. And it was also, I mean, Rhino JB's a total different animal compared to me on the show. Here's a guy's never been part of the business, doesn't know the inner workings of the business or anything, and it gives a whole different opinion, of the wrestling show, which I enjoy it, but I was expecting something different when I first started with him. He's big on Twitch and everything, but he showed up for 78 shows so far, so I can't bitch about it,
Not at all.
Let's jump to the comments for just a second here. Gary Wooldred says, I'm one of the 4 people watching, and I'm in Florida. Well, guess what, Gary? So is Xanders. Y'all need to hook up down there and hang out. That'd be a good time.
I'm having a blast.
Sounds like a great idea.
And then Gary also, wait a minute before I skip this one. Xanders won't show up. Well,
there it is.
I showed up to Florida.
See, you didn't want to.
I didn't want to, but that's neither here nor there. It's just Xanders, Mako. Thanks for all the
if Dirty would have booked your vacation, you wouldn't have showed up.
Okay, so hang on. We're having. Okay, so do we want to talk about the other one, or I want to ask you a little bit, because you mentioned him not really being deep in the business. I'm assuming this is your co-host. I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm the league.
Yeah, it's my co-host for the Rolling Into Memphis show. His name is Rhino JB. He's a big fan. He does Twitch. He did something where he does a league where you can pick a wrestler or your own wrestler, and you go against each other on the WWE show. And it's like one of the things that started on Twitch that no one was doing. And I sure know a lot of details about that, don't I? But I just. It's just, yeah, he's a total different. I told him, at first, I used the M word and called him a mark, because
Oh,
that's the way
not what I thought.
But he's
M
going.
word.
I said M. I
Sanders.
didn't
I
say.
said motherfucker, but anyway.
Oh.
And then
Sorry.
somebody said he's
Vacation.
like the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and I'm kayfabe and whatever. But it's a different animal. It really is. I mean, if I had Gene, me and Gene did a show. I mean, it wasn't like either one of us was smarter than the other, but it's a whole different thing when you're dealing with people that's never been in the business.
Yeah.
Well, so
And-
but you're gonna run into that, right? You're gonna always run into that, aren't you?
But I don't pick those people. If I
Here's
want
the
to pick
thing.
somebody,
I think for what they're doing, I think that makes for a better show because it gives you two different perspectives. But I think inside people who are involved in the business or have been involved in the business, you're never going to have this. You're not going to view things the same way as a fan. Someone with, I mean, yeah,
no,
maybe they've
never
read, maybe they've
will I.
read
Right.
dirt sheets and have whatever inside information you can get on the internet, which is a lot, but they still aren't going to have the same perspective and they're not going to be as cynical as somebody who has been in the business. And I actually, when I first seen y'all were doing that show, I actually thought, like, that's actually pretty smart because Brian's going to have the inside outlook of it, and his hits and misses and all this are going to be from the perspective of a guy who's been involved in the business for 20 something years and a fan for 40, 30, whatever it is.
Yeah, started in 1978, so
Yeah.
this kid, he's a kid. And the thing about it is I didn't know him. Your co-host, and I've been friends with Lance for a long time, and I've been friends with you. So I didn't even know this guy. So it's one of those things where we had a project, we went at it, and, like I said, 78 episodes. Someone sticks in there for that many episodes, especially with me. Gene, you couldn't even last that with me, so,
I'm not the one that ended the show, man. I just stopped getting the message every month.
We just kept shitting on everything. It's like, is it really as good as we remembered? And it really wasn't as good as we remembered.
Not the stuff that somebody was picking, but I wasn't picking. So that's another.
That's right.
Day. So Gary asked, "How does BT feel about Bluff City Wrestling?" Were you hoping that question wasn't going to come up?
I saw it. You disappeared, and I was like, "Oh, well, he's not going to let me talk about that." Gosh, I got a lot to say, but I just don't know. I haven't seen the show yet, so we don't know what the TV show is going to be. He bought time at 10 a.m. On the same channel as Memphis Wrestling airs, Johnny Dotson. And so he has produced a show. They did some TV tapings. Us five guys sitting right here could do the same thing that he just did. All we have to do is have the money to get the time slot and tape some matches and put it on TV. But there's a lot from getting the contract, point A, to point Z when you put it actually on TV. So when it gets on TV, I might have more to say about it. Johnny's an interesting character, and God, just put it this way: I had a phone call from Johnny Dotson, and we might have heat. He did apologize, but he was upset about stuff that's been said, about him on a podcast, and I try to stress to him that this is a wrestling business. That's what we're doing. We're talking about things that's going on, so.
Gary says he hates you.
I don't care.
I mean, I've known Johnny since I first got in the business. I used to tag with him and Alan Steele in Corinth back in 1998 or 9 or whatever it was. I have no insight into any of this. I've barely watched the Memphis show past the first few episodes. I've kind of lost track of everything. But the part I don't understand is, okay, start another show because God knows Memphis needs another freaking wrestling
That's
show.
The part that
but that's fine. If that's what you want to do it because everybody is. But I don't understand this vendetta he seems to have of like, it ain't just about Johnny running a wrestling show at Memphis. It's like, we want to take down Dustin and Memphis Wrestling. Like, it's a war. It's the Saturday morning at 10 o'clock war or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And that's the part I don't understand, like all the mudslinging and all the shit talking. I just don't think that does anything for anybody. And it doesn't help.
You have
people's
not. You have
perspective of
not
anything.
seen. Yeah, you have not seen Dustin say one word about Bluff City wrestling. That's
Yeah.
why I was a little apprehensive of saying something. And my dealings with Johnny Dotson have been very few dealings with him. You know, I wish him the best, but I do know there's X amount of promotions, and it's the same thing with. I used to own a small restaurant, and so I in a small town. Did I ever want anyone else to put a restaurant in that town? Because the piece of pie is so small. Well, it's the same thing with Memphis. It's not the piece of pie is that small. It's just there's so many damn people eating on that piece of pie, and the whole pie, and it's nothing there. So you scatter out the fans, and then you try to make you try to make it a war. It sounds so silly because and the things that Dustin did to get the show on. I mean, he's been planning this for years. It ain't just like he got pissed off at somebody. And the story that's been told to me by many of the people backstage was Johnny showed up very late and was asked not to come back after he did those shows. And that's one of the reasons. That was one of the main reasons. And almost everybody you talk to backstage will tell you, I say, do you have a good backstage? Well, everybody but Johnny Dotson. So it's just one of those things, and I don't know Johnny. I really don't. Like I said, I've probably had 2 or 3 conversations with him in my whole life. And so it's just one of those things where I just don't. I'm with you, Gene. I don't understand the vendetta part of it or I don't know.
I don't think it's a good look for your company. It's like in Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David's Spite Store, the coffee shop that he's opening to spite. It's like a spite wrestling promotion, more or less.
It is, but a lot of people do that, and it makes no sense.
How many wrestling promotions over the years were started out of spite? I mean, probably 70% of them. That may be a conservative number.
I just don't. I mean, I think Dustin will keep doing what he's doing, and if they succeed, then more to them. There's plenty of guys in Memphis that they can use that's wrestling for the other 8 promotions there. So,
yeah, I mean, I haven't. I mean, like I said, I used to know Johnny back in the day. I haven't been around him in years. I've been perplexed with Johnny in general. I finally unfollowed him on Facebook just because the whole aspect of he's a preacher, but then he's MFing people on Facebook every day and threatening people and all this kind of stuff. I unfollowed him a couple of years ago before all this came around because it's just man, this dude is all over the place because he's talking about people's gimmick Facebook and their shoot Facebook, and he'd be like, come Sunday, we're going to have a sermon on so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. We're going to be preaching about this and that at the church. And then an hour later, he'd be like, that MF and so-and-so, and just be trashing some wrestler. I'm like,
I mentioned that. Yeah. I have mentioned that in conversation. So it's just one of those, it's kind of weird. I kept him on my Facebook because it was kind of like a train wreck, So here I wanted to keep him on there so I see if he's praising God or calling somebody a motherfucker. I mean, I've been known to do that too, Gene. I praise God in the morning and call somebody a motherfucker in the afternoon.
Oh yeah, but I don't tell you to come hear a sermon from me on Sunday. But that's
or put a sermon on the Facebook
exactly
at 11 o'clock in the morning and then at 5 o'clock. But yeah, it happens. We called them back in my day. We called them back row Baptists. So that's what I was, a back row Baptist.
Mako, Scott, you guys got anything y'all want to chime in and ask Brian about, or any?
I just looked at I tried to look at the guy you guys were just talking about, Johnny Dotson, Bluff City, whatever we were talking about, Bluff City Wrestling.
Yeah,
I looked it up. I don't get that. I don't know who is who, but that's just the stuff. I just feel like if you're gonna put that much time and work and actually get on TV, the product should just be better looking than that, just off the poster alone. That's I don't know. I don't see how you can come at somebody firing all cylinders, and that's the best you can put up. Again, you just shot yourself in the foot for me.
Well, you got to have somebody. You got to have somebody part of your organization that will say that poster fucking sucks. Make a different one. But you got a bunch of people that are saying, "Here's a poster, and how's it look? Oh, it looks good. That poster looks good."
Those guys want a spot on the roster.
They want a spot on the roster.
That is probably I do not like that in this. That's one big man.
Shane, I want to ask you something. I'm going to be honest with you. Go look at that poster and tell me, if you was a wrestling fan, would you pay to see any of those guys on that poster?
I'm a wrestler, and I wouldn't be paid to be on that show because of that poster. So let me just go ahead and say that.
That's the part of that. I mean, it looks like one of me and Gene used to do something in Gibson, Tennessee. It looks like one of the Gibson, Tennessee black and white, and then just a bunch of people that you don't know. You got to, I'm a firm believer.
Killer's running his marketing department.
Who?
Killer, wasn't that the name of that promoter over there?
Yes. Yeah, he was just crazy stuff in that day when they weren't paying us like $5 to come over. So,
yeah, I don't know. I guess marketing never was. I mean, I'm not gonna say everybody should know how to do it, but when you have a roster like that, man, make the poster look fun. Make it, but I wouldn't even put the guys on the poster because you don't need those. There's nobody on there that
they know.
Yeah,
that's going to draw money.
Yeah, so why not make like an explosion or something and just call it something? Come up with something catchy. Put more money in some graphic. Make it seem like fun time for the family, whatever it is. But leave the guys off because I see guys on there and it looks like they're in their backyard where they took the picture. It's like they edited out the guy and then stuck them on. I don't like when they do that either. That's just bad.
I just, it's the thing about it is you got to bring. Dustin's been bringing, stars, quote unquote stars, but guys from WWE that's left AEW. He's got Tony Nese coming in. You bring people like that for the one reason of getting, and Booker T's been there so that they can get eyes on their guys, and they've got a couple of guys that are really over big and provide entertainment. Mike Anthony's one of them. Brett Michaels, a guy that couldn't talk on the microphone that I said you can't ever get this guy over. I love Brett Michaels. I've known him for years. Can't get him over. He's fucking over. He comes out and the crowd goes nuts. And it's this big muscle guy that, he looks like a wrestler. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's all you get to do. That's all you get to do is put over Brett Michaels. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I mean,
I knew that tag Xander's back in right there.
Yeah, he's back. All right. So you got heat with look, I start my own podcast here. So you got heat with Brett Michaels?
No.
All right.
That was the best Xander's response ever.
Man, I tell you, it was delayed too. Yeah.
Brett's one of the worst.
It is storming.
He's
here,
had his run with the
okay,
gentleman.
So I want to ask, what are some of the qualities that are like set you apart? Because yes, graphics and design, but it is once you get there, wrestling does matter. And those Bluff City shows, I don't know, they might be booked so great they run you out of business. You better hope not. But what sets y'all apart, production wise? That's just I know Neil Taylor works with y'all, and he's really good whenever it comes to a wrestling mind. I don't put a lot of people over on here, but Neil at least understands wrestling.
You're saying y'all.
I've
never been to the building but one time, so I'm really not part of the promotion. I provide them with stuff. But you were right about some things, like Neil Taylor. Here's a guy who I'm assuming everybody here knows Neil. But Neil he's in, producing the television show every week, hands-on on what's going on. There's something that they do that not all the wrestlers and especially WWE and AEW miss. They miss not the stories that are on the front, but they're doing a lot of stories constantly in the background. So you have an arc of a story going on with these two wrestlers in the background at all times. And then the stuff on the front, you got a couple of guys, about 3 guys booking this show that have been lifelong wrestling fans and want to see something different. And I had one legend who told me to kayfabe. He said it's the only TV show that's ever been on Memphis that had storylines that they did. And, they closed the storyline. The classic Memphis Wrestling was a commercial for Monday night. That's all that was. So they really didn't have to close up storylines or do anything like that. I think that's what's going to set them aside from anybody else that comes there, and the exposure that a Dustin Starr can give them, who's in front of the Redbirds, who's in front of the Grizzlies, who's on CW30 doing this. There is him and his wife are the plus on that's going to keep them separate from all the other people. And he has a huge YouTube following. So,
how are you on time, Brian?
I'm good.
All right. Just to please Anders, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to hit the commercial break real quick, and we'll be back here in about a little over 2 minutes. Are you looking to have a good time? Well, head on down to Happy Hour Comedy Club and Restaurant in Anniston, Alabama. Shoot you some pool, play you some darts, or head on over to the bar, get you a cold beer or one of them fancy cocktail drinks. They got all that. You hungry? Get you one of the best pizzas in Anniston or anything else off the menu. They got burgers, tacos, chicken wings, anything you want. Every Thursday night, they got open mic comedy and karaoke, and live comedy every Friday and Saturday night with some of the top comedians from across the United States. Go to CheapHeatTV.club for more information and tell them Whitey Jenkins sent you.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday at noon, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
You like barbecue? Well, of course you do, unless you're some kind of weirdo or wasn't raised right. So if you want to get some of the best barbecue around, check out P3 Barbecue. Our buddy David Estes does it up right, and he'll be glad to cater to your next event or just send you some of his award-winning sauce right there to your own doorstep. Go over and check them out on the Facebooks at facebook.com/P3 Barbecue, or give old David a call at 901-679-3452 and tell him Whitey Jenkins sent you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school, but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Dangerous Dan Colley, the Professor Jimmy Street, and the Plastic Sheik Jared are the undisputed six-man tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise, this trio does it all. And all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Get ready to get inspired. It's Xander's Inspirational Podcast, the brand new podcast with Upbeat Xanders, as he has one-on-one podcast sessions that both inspire and inform. Check it out as Xanders has a one-on-one interview with some of your favorite people in and out of the professional wrestling business. Give it a listen on CheapHeatTVLive.com. It's the Old School Dives Pro Wrestling Podcast with Shane Knowles and Gene Jackson. Every episode, they will take a deep dive into old school professional wrestling. Pro wrestlers, events, all sorts of great topics will be covered every 2 weeks right here on Old School Dives. You can find it at CheapHeatTVLive.com and at YouTube.com/CheapHeatTV. It's Old School Dives with Shane Knowles and Gene Jackson. All right, well, now we got two people's face missing here.
Yeah, I was going to ask, but never mind.
Man.
I'm sorry, by the way. It's coming a huge storm. And Mr. Tramel, I just want to say, if you ever want to hear my Brett Michaels opinions, you just hit me up. I'll come on your podcast. And I don't want to do that here. This is about you, buddy.
All right. The thing about it is, I've never really worked with Brett except maybe once. This was like when you first got started in the business. So I look at it as a fan's point of view, and what they've done with him. On that show to be able to make him somebody. I mean, I didn't think he's still not great on interviews, but they give him two or three lines to say now. So they've got him over. That's what it's about, getting somebody over. So
I'm positive he's bad.
Brett's a good guy. Anyway, despite Xander's negative bullshit. Anyway,
Scott, am I wrong? He's the truth teller.
He's not wrong.
Nobody's saying he's good on the mic. Brian just prefaced all that by saying he's not good on the mic.
We've shared the room together. Super nice guy, I guess.
The worst.
Not great in the ring. But out of everybody I've been in the ring with from Mississippi,
by the way. I didn't say that.
Scott's shooting now. I just want to know. Scott's shooting now.
Out of everybody I've been in the ring with in Mississippi, he's probably still one of my favorites to work.
Yes, I would say that.
There's at one point there was 3 or 4 people that could wrestle Mississippi, and the rest of them didn't know what the fuck they were doing. So that's
still going on there.
I'm not saying any of this, by the way. Not saying any of this. Charles Sanders didn't say that.
No, I think from what we've been working with, it's a lot of younger guys, and that's including myself. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there are some. Like me and Gene went to a show. The kid that I worked, Booty Smacks or whatever his name was, he was good. He was good. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like I was very impressed with what we did. I was like, okay, all right, you get it. You get my thumbs up. But that's very few. And like I get it. But Brett, when I worked Brett last weekend, man, that's fun. I'm not gonna lie. I like Brett. I don't like a lot of people, but.
And the thing, I always give, Boonville hell for years, but man, they're drawing great crowds, and you got to, I guess, kneel on the back for that too. They got
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Places filled up. It's Sanders. Is that who's drawing all the people?
Obviously,
If it was, it would run out.
When he pops in for a week or two, he really spikes the ratings.
Just smokes that thing.
Woo!
I mean, Brett's marketable. I mean, if you're going to, build a promotion. I mean, okay, is he great on the mic? No. Is he, 5-star matches in the ring? No. But that isn't what sells on TV either. I mean, it's
Hulk Hogan.
It's a whole nother show.
Amen.
So, speaking of,
he just sold. He was just a seller, and he just sold, and then made the comeback. Hulk didn't do shit. So, I mean, he was a babyface. He was, the same thing with Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler was a good worker, but he didn't do much in a match. He just sold, and then he made the big comeback,
Triple, do you read the damn comments, or you just
thanks to us, pat me on the
Yeah, no, don't comment on it, because I know how many times they've worked Brett Michaels at EPW, but hell yeah.
Well, since he's watching, and he's doing it, we could ask him, is that your shoot name, or is that your work name there, buddy? Can't tell.
Yeah, there was a discussion about that earlier, Justin. If they want to know if that's your shoot name or your work name,
give him 15 minutes when the internet's going to catch up to him. Hang on.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Justin, I would love to pat you on the back.
Hard.
Just say
well,
that for
a little bit of inside information. If things go well, Justin Klein may be our guest here next Sunday on CheapHeatTV Live. So you'll have a chance to pick his brain, pat his back, whatever you want to do, Scotty.
Patting's not exactly the word I was going to use, but I think
it'd be a kick. We're going to kick him in the back. We know what we're going to do.
Smokey better have as many pictures up as he does of me, and I'm just saying, Smokey, come on, help us out.
Well, he's got some. He already had like a.
Smokey's got some here to use to promote next week's show. Come on, Smokey, where you at here, buddy?
Because we see this, and this is what he was talking about.
He's like, see,
this is what BT was talking about, right? We can't.
I see, y'all could have had a big convention down there in Florida. If Gary's down there, you're down there. Apparently, Justin's been down there. Y'all could have all got together in Florida.
And I mean this as an
fix
insult.
The wrestling business and
no. I mean this from my heart. I would never vacation in Florida. I'm just saying.
It's the taint of America.
Justin Klein says, if I come on, it'll be the highest rated show you've ever done. Well,
my question is, it said the Florida looks good on me. Is that because he's bigger than the state of Florida? Or
yeah.
Oh my.
Does he have a tattoo of Florida on him? Is that what I'm asking?
Yeah. It's hateful. Y'all stop being.
Goodness.
All right. So, Brian Tramel, how are you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm just sitting back. I'm good.
Brian's still here, by the
way. Yeah, sorry. Scott, what kind of
says the female viewership peaked when you put that photo up. So, there you go.
Hey, he stays in it, man.
And there's your answer, Brian. That's his working account.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, we're all good then, yeah.
So before we start winding down, wait a minute. That mush mouth making jokes better check himself. Whoa, which one is that?
Oh,
he's talking about your beard. He's talking about your beard.
Mush mouth.
Is he talking about this?
He better not be talking about our guest Brian, because I will not tolerate it.
Is he talking about?
No one's going to come on here and disrespect
I also wanted to say,
Brian.
Yeah, I just want to say, if there's anybody, there's one person, and we've all learned this. Me and Gene spoke about this already. At least one person can wear a fedora. Only one person.
Yeah, we know that.
Everybody knows. One
I wish I had a picture
person.
of why I wear a fedora. There is a candy.
No,
there's a candy. Awesome. It's called Mr. Melon, and it's a big round head, like my big head. And the commercial has the guy with a glasses on, just like me. And so I tried to sue Mr. Melon, And so I had to get the fedora so I could look just like Mr. Mellon. So
And
that's
the resemblance is uncanny, I will say.
Yeah.
You had a solid lawsuit. I don't know why it didn't go through, but
Yeah, unfortunate
Just
for
Juan
you.
says I've never met a normal person who wears a fedora.
I've
Smokey.
never claimed to be normal.
Smokey, or you're putting a guy who's wearing a what is the little douchey frat hats? I don't even know what they're called.
I know
That's the thing is he's at least 40. The visor, yeah, he's 40 and wearing a visor. I don't want to talk to him about hats.
Hey,
I got a question. I got a question for BT.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get off Justin Klein because we'll talk about him next
I
week.
appreciate
Anyways,
it.
BT, you talk a lot. You watch a lot of wrestling. You do a podcast on a lot of different wrestling. You watch a lot of different shows. And that being the case, right now, out of all the shows that are running, which one do you think's actually hitting the mark more times than not?
Man, that's hard to say. I mean, with what's going on, with the WWE, I don't watch the WWE, but I'm not that guy that says, it sucks. I hate the WWE. I love what they do. They provide, entertainment for a lot of people. It's not, there's a lot of guys I like. AEW misses the mark a lot, but seems to really be, I don't know how to explain it, but the hardcore
They're
people,
swinging. They're swinging really hard.
Yeah, they are.
swing
There's
really
a million.
hard.
You're right. Yeah, there's a million people that's going to like them. I don't know if they'll ever get over that on a weekly basis. More than a million people, because it's the hardcore people. They're going to watch no matter what, and eventually they're going to turn off some more people. Like because you got so much blood, you got so much this, you got so much that. The history shows you're going to eventually start turning people off because of it. Onita had all kinds of crazy matches and eventually started, drawing in the flea market for them. So, what will people watch? What do I like to watch? I just got through with the whole G1 tournament in New Japan. And I watched so many matches. Now I don't want to watch nothing really, if you want to know the truth, because I watched so many matches. But I went, in and out of what I like to what to watch. You watch matches for the work rate, or do you watch matches for just the storyline and everything? And so I come in and out of that sometimes. I want to see a really good, quote unquote 5-star match, but I also want to see the psychology part of it and how they did it, where they got there, how did they get the back, all that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff about the business. Right now, the TV show I watch the most is the AEW, the main show on Wednesdays. The other shows, I just watch pieces of them on YouTube. I hope that answers your question.
No, it's fine. It's perfect.
Yeah. Do you think something like the Nashville Coliseum show that they had for Ric Flair's thing, Conrad did a really good job with that? And, do you think that is something that can, bleed into y'all's area to where y'all could start doing? I know that had to do with the retirement and a huge angle at the end of it. But, there's plenty of people around that area that, deserve that kind of, and it drew good wrestling numbers. Is there a market that, kind of helped you after that at all?
What are you talking about? Be drawing a big
here's what's you're in the Memphis area. So that's what I'm kind of wondering about. What did it do for Tennessee?
I'm not sure what that did for them, but I want you to know the older guys from Memphis, like the Jerry Lawlers, Building D's, and all that, unlike Ric Flair, they can't draw in Memphis. They don't draw them. They draw in other areas, but they don't draw 2 or 3 times in other areas, except maybe Lawler. But they don't draw in Memphis. They've already seen them, and they know what their age is in Memphis. So I don't think there's the thing with Conrad, and God, he has just got so many good people and got so many Patreon members and got so much money coming in. This guy's done everything right. I mean, everything he touches, it turns to gold. So, I mean, I don't know if he could really, I already lost money on what was it? Starcast, the 4th one, maybe.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, there was one of them that was real shitty that they said they had a lot of problems with. But I don't know if there is a name that you could do that with in the Memphis area that would draw a crowd like that. That's and you had people coming from everywhere for that. I had friends from Chicago.
Well, and you got to consider too how many people were in town already for SummerSlam. I mean, Conrad's smart. He piggybacks off huge events, so he's not having to draw those people in the town. He just has to pull a little extra money out of their pocket, which is smart.
Is that something that helps y'all? I mean, I keep saying y'all. I know you're
No, it's
not
all right.
part
I
of like the
understand what you're saying.
booking.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you do have like what you do say is something that they listen to because they have you in a spot where you can speak your opinion about it. So like your opinion does matter when it comes to this, and I don't want anybody to get that twisted. We have you on here because you're most informative when it comes to like Memphis and like that area kind of wrestling because you study it the most. Is it something that whenever y'all get that kind of bump in attendance, whenever AEW comes or SmackDown or Raw shows up, is it something that y'all are capitalizing on? Do y'all see like growth in numbers
He
throughout? Do you
does
see
what
growth?
he does.
Okay.
He promotes his shows on Sunday afternoon. They do 3
Mm-hmm.
tapings, and when he brings somebody in, he has noticed that it's the new guys that he brings in, like the Lance Archer. Booker T did very well. Lance Archer, Thunder Rosa, people that are on television or been on television recently. It's not the older Memphis guys. It's not even the older whatever guys. Of the other. It's the current rosters of people that are those people that come to Memphis Wrestling now watch wrestling. Now they may not even watch wrestling 5 years ago, but they are watching wrestling now, and that's where he sees an increase in an audience. Whether he gets to the point where he has to get a bigger building, I mean, that would be the awesome part of it. I mean, but they can put in, I think, 120 or 130, which is not a lot, but the tickets aren't $5 either. So and then you could fill it up and do standing room only and so forth and so on. It's a really nice building, but it's really small. So it's like a studio audience, and his idea is producing a TV show to make money, I mean, with
Yeah.
commercials and all that. So
Okay, so you're this unbelievable wealth of like Memphis wrestling knowledge. Let's say I want to just watch Memphis wrestling, and you want me to get hooked in. I'm gonna give you 8 minutes of my time. What is somebody or a match I should look up from Memphis that'll catch me in 8 minutes?
there's a guy by the
Give me
name
a
of
wrestler.
Zay Washington. If you're a worker and you like high flying stuff, this is a kid who's been wrestling since he's about 14. And he just gets better and better and better, and he's getting better at putting together matches, knowing when to do the hot tag, when to do all that kind of stuff. Zay Washington's somebody to look for on that Memphis show, and just go out of your way to watch some of his matches, and you'll see something a little extra special about that guy. That he's one of my picks for a guy that could go wrestle and work anywhere he wanted to.
I think you pointed out something earlier that is lost on a lot of people. The fact that the Memphis wrestling that so many people know and love and reflect on and compare everything to was a weekly commercial to come buy a ticket Monday night to see this match that we're going to make you feel like before the end of this 90 minutes, you've got to go see what's going to happen. And the later versions, like the Corey Macklin version and then now Dustin's version, it's a TV show. It exists as a TV show. Yes, they may put on the occasional live event, and they may try to steer you towards that. But the TV show exists as a TV show. It's there to sell ads. It's there to draw viewers. Like you say, that building is a studio-sized audience by design. That's what they're trying to draw in there. I don't think people really understand. I mean, even back to when you went from the old school wrestling everybody loves and carries on about to like the Monday Night War period. The Monday Night War, it became about ratings and putting the best stuff on TV to get you to watch that TV show. It no longer was so much about selling tickets. And I think nowadays it gets hard to distinguish between the two. I know, like, for a show like EPW, where you're trying to do both, this TV show does not solely exist to promote your weekly events where you sell tickets, but you do run weekly events to sell tickets to. And so how do you not show too much on TV to prevent people from coming to buy the tickets? And how do you not make it too much about having to come see things to where people are like, well, I'm not going to watch this show because I've talked to Neil, and they've got some, people that watch it in other states that just enjoy the show. Well, they're not going to come to Boonville. It don't matter how big a match or how big a name whatever you bring there, they're not coming to Boonville. But if enough of it became focused on, all right, everything's geared towards coming to this show next Saturday night, then they may not watch it. And I think, to me, if I was in their shoes, that would be the hardest thing to navigate, is trying to run a wrestling television show that stands alone as a wrestling television show, but also trying to sell tickets as well without.
Yeah, he's, with EPW doing that, Dustin really just does it. They have like 5 or 6 shows in the can at all times. That's the part that I find difficult. If I was doing it, it's to have that many shows taped ahead of time and try to follow those storylines. And, like, I've caught them messing up with the belts. One of the girls was at a show with the title belt, but she had not won the title belt yet. Things like that.
Yeah.
But you get so wrapped up on what's going on at the building compared to what's going on the TV show. So that's got to be a hard thing. And I have not been spoiled to almost a few things. Like, there was a belt change that someone told me, but they don't tell me the spoilers because I try to watch it, watch it when it happens. And I hate watching wrestling if I know what's going to happen in the end. I just don't like it at all. So
Jimmy Street, who is one of our co-conspirators in podcasting, we promote each other's shows and everything. Good guy. But that's a great question. Is there as much money in Jerry Lawler's last match? Does he wrestle too much for that to be big?
I think he does. I think so. Where would you want Jerry's last match to be?
It would have to be Memphis.
It would have to be Memphis, and I don't know.
It's not going to draw. I mean, historically, it's not going to draw.
And you have to get a lot. I mean, you'd have to get a lot of people in. Maybe, a couple of thousand people, but how many was in the Flair building? I don't know how many people was in the Flair.
So let me ask you this. How much older does Jerry Lawler need to be before it becomes relevant? Because, if I really believe if Bob Armstrong would have said, look, I'm absolutely promise you this is my last match, they would have filled out a building if somebody would have promoted it the way Conrad did.
Well, maybe, but the Flair thing was more of a morbid curiosity than anything else, because he nearly died. There was a time when you didn't think there was any chance he was going to live. And the majority of people who were at that show, both in the crowd and in the back, thought there was a very strong chance that you may watch Ric Flair die live on Fight TV that night. Lawler, same thing. He nearly died.
He did die, by the way.
Did die. But he immediately, as soon as he was physically able, was back to wrestling in Tupelo and Saltillo and BFE, Tennessee. And, I mean, you could see him anywhere. Burt Prentice shows. He was all over the place all the time. And
I think the Flair thing's different, though, Gene. I'm sitting here thinking because they asked about Lawler. Flair was national. Yeah. He was everywhere. Everyone watched Ric Flair. Lawler was more territorial, even though he went to WWE. Same thing could be said about Bob Armstrong. I'm a huge Bob Armstrong fan. Big mark for him. Always have been. I know Gene loved Bob Armstrong, and Xander sounds like he did too. But just us. I mean, if you put him on, even on a podcast, Conrad could probably not draw, as many people as he did with this Ric Flair thing. And you got
6,800, by the way.
Yeah, you got to pat Jeff Jarrett on the back for everything he's done for that match.
6,800.
Yeah.
6,800. Okay, 6,800 people. How old is Jerry Lawler? That's what I want to know.
Close to the same age as Flair. He's in his 70s.
68, 70, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. What if if he put out a training video like that, they marketed that thing so well because he did put it out. And I think there's a lot more of if you got in the Twitter sphere and kind of laid low off of Ric Flair, or Jerry Lawler laid low and didn't say anything and then came out and was like, hey, look, I'm done after this. Everybody come hang out. I think you would probably see close.
But I don't know. Ric Flair's a different. I love Jerry. As a fan, I was a huge Jerry Lawler fan, but I think I may be wrong here, completely wrong, but I think Ric Flair was a different animal, like a Ric Flair,
yes.
The Hulk Hogan's, the people like that. So
people don't understand, if you are outside of the South, the majority of wrestling fans outside of the Southeast know Jerry Lawler as a commentator who used to get in the ring every now and then on WWE. They don't know him as this main event high level wrestler. They just don't.
He
is
draws
not
really
on the
good
level
there,
of
so.
he's not on the level of a Jerry Lawler on a national stage. And I also don't think if Conrad would have just went to Nashville on a random Sunday afternoon and booked Ric Flair's last match, you would have had 7,000 people there without already having
I agree with you.
SummerSlam in town. And you sure as hell ain't going to do it with Lawler. And I love Lawler. I do. I'm probably a bigger fan of Lawler than I am Flair, but that's just facts.
That was a huge star alignment because, like, Jared's really big in Tennessee. He's huge in Tennessee, and so like they played it about as well as you can play something like that. I commend them for that. Good job.
By the way, just a fact check. Flair is 73. Jerry the King Lawler is 72.
Yep, there you go. Yeah.
That's crazy because I mean, but like Flair does it. Like I don't know. I haven't seen Lawler in a while. So maybe he looks different, but Flair, good Lord, he looks every bit of 73.
No, Lawler only does like 2 or 3 moves, but up close and personal, Lawler doesn't look much different. He's had a little bit of work done too, but he he does the hot tag, punches a couple times, and boom, it's over. So
I wrestled Lawler twice in the last 6-7 years. And at no point did I feel like, oh, God, this dude might die on us in here.
Right.
Looking at Flair shuffling down the aisle in Nashville, I would have been scared to death to lay a hand on Ric Flair.
I would have. That's what I wanted to ask is, have you ever watched Jerry Lawler come in on a cane? Because I saw Tracy Smothers do that a couple of times, and it was just like, man, I don't want to be anywhere near this.
No, and I mean, and a couple of times I wrestled Jimmy Vay, and I was scared to do anything to that dude because he looked like if you hit him with a working punch, he would just shatter. But Lawler to this day doesn't come off that way, so
no.
I wouldn't want to get hit with Lawler's left.
Apples.
Yeah. Maybe 10 years, maybe 10 more years, Jerry Lawler might get that.
Well, BT, it's been great having you on, man. You're always a favorite guest of ours, and I want to have you back again before too long because I think you would be someone who would have a good time playing our new game that we started here a while back, Porn Star or Wrestler. That's where we take random names, and you have to guess whether it's a porn star or professional wrestler. And these guys can all attest it's a hell of a lot harder than it sounds, I promise.
Mako killed it last time, dude.
Yeah, Mako, he either really knows his porn stars or really knows his wrestlers. We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he really knows wrestlers, but we know, buddy.
Back in the day, I actually wanted to start a porn star newsletter where you told them their real names and then you ranked their performances. Like you give them 3.5 stars. It was called Cinema. I never did it, but in my mind, that's what I was going to do.
That was a missed opportunity, sir.
Yeah, you could have. We could have talked about how much juice was there and all kinds of fun stuff.
There's your next podcast.
Is that not the entire plot for the Seth Rogen movie where Knocked Up? I think that's the entire plot. Like, I think that's his business idea. It's the way to go. They stole your gimmick, dude. What a horrible thing.
That was one of those things where there's back in the day, newsletters were the thing to do, Now it's podcasts. I don't think I want to do a porn podcast. I got 3 kids and a wife. So yeah.
You'll be back here next time.
You're much too respected for that. But you'll play the porn star versus wrestler game.
Right? Oh sure. Oh hell yeah.
And also, one more thing to all the cheap heat motherfuckers.
All right, that's the sign that it's time to plug our social media. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter is at CheapHeatTV Live. YouTube is tiny URL /CheapHeatTV because of our misfortune of losing our other YouTube page. We won't go into that tonight because it's still a sore subject. But anyway, as Anders said earlier, please subscribe to our CheapHeatTV YouTube channel. You'd be helping us out a lot. Please share this podcast around. Let everybody hear what BT had to say. Let Johnny Dotson hear what he had to say. Get him riled up. Let Johnny cut a profanity-laced promo on BT and Memphis Wrestling this week. And get us some views in the process. We sure appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate being on www.STSPod.club. You get all the episodes. Look, I'm starting to plug my shit here. WTF is
Thank you.
our highest rated show. It gets more downloads than anything. It's called WTF News Desk. And guys, I know this is not going to surprise y'all, but we come up with 10 things every month that wrestlers did that was really stupid. So it's real easy to do. MMA and wrestling. It's real. We usually have about 22 things that we have every month, and we have to scatter through 10. So it's a really fun show with me and my co-host Lance Levine. So,
and that, folks, is why BT is the king, because he remembers to plug his shit.
That's right. You got to plug your shit all the time, man.
So kudos. Tune in next Sunday night. We may be joined by the one and only Justin Klein. And in case you missed it, just real quick before we leave, Justin Klein said, Prestige Worldwide Wrestling, I hear, is hitting on all four cylinders, or maybe those were soup cans.
We'll have it on next week.
He left
apparently
before we started talking about New Japan and anime. And by the way, Xander,
no idea.
Nice webcam. You've never looked better. So there you go.
We'll see how his quality next week is. I'll be in California.
We'll see where Prestige is going.
Not very positive, Xander's. Tisk. So there you go. Join us next Sunday night for Justin Klein. And as always, thank you for watching. And the audio version will be up later tonight. So if you want to hear us and not see us, I don't know why you would, but you'll have the opportunity. Catch you next week. Thanks for listening.
If
you're looking to have a good time, well, head on down to Happy Hour Comedy Club and Restaurant in Anniston, Alabama. Shoot you some pool, play you some darts, or head on over to the bar and get you a cold beer or one of them fancy cocktail drinks. They got all that.